It started with a coffee cup. Not screaming, not lipstick, not a text message, just a second coffee cup on my desk. That cup didn't belong to me. It matched our set, the exact blue ceramic ones Dalia picked out from some overpriced boutique in Seattle. But the thing is, I only ever used one. Always the same one. Handle chipped at the bottom. A faint stain inside that never scrubbed out. This one was flawless. I stood there, staring at it like it was a gun left on the counter. Who used this? I asked out loud, even though no one was home. I hadn't had guests in weeks. No friends over. My brother lived 3 states away. The only other person who came here regularly was her. Dalia, my wife. She told me she'd stopped by while I was at work to grab her curling iron, but she didn't mention anything about making coffee. And why would she? She doesn't drink coffee. Not unless he does. That's when the crack formed. Not the dramatic explosion you hear about in movies, just a hairline fracture in the foundation of what I thought was real. I went to the trash, carefully lifted every paper towel, every receipt, until I found it. A napkin from Lorenzo's Bistro that wasn't near her office. Wasn't even near mine. I know because I Googled the distance in a spiral of silent panic. I didn't want to believe it. I told myself there had to be a reason, but my chest was already doing that thing where it tightens and your vision goes fuzzy, like your body's trying to warn you before your heart figures it out. Dalia came home that night smiling. Not big, just soft, like someone who was satisfied. I asked her if she wanted tea. She said she was too tired. Went straight to bed. But I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch for hours, turning that napkin over in my hand like it might give up secrets if I stared long enough. I started noticing more things after that. An extra toothbrush in her work bag. The way she locked her phone screen like it was a state secret. The quiet hum in her voice when she told me she loved me so much lately. That's how you know someone's lying. When they start repeating things you never doubted before. 3 weeks passed. Then came the second crack. She forgot to log out of her shared Google account on my laptop. And that's where I saw it. Location history. Tuesday, 6:43 p.m. Not the gym, not yoga, not the office. A tower stop at the Crane Apartments. I clicked it. I zoomed in. I searched the name and then I saw it. Her coworker's place. Ethan Marrow. The guy who always made jokes about me being the spreadsheet king. The one who hugged her a little too long when we had her promotion party at our house. The one she said was like a brother. I closed the laptop. My face burned. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I did something worse. I went completely silent. The next morning, I packed my things. 1 bag. Left my wedding ring in the sugar jar. She'd find it eventually. No goodbye note, just silence. I moved across town, got a 1-bedroom near the river, bought a used couch, a dull lamp, and a new set of coffee mugs. Black. No matching sets. I thought that was the end. I thought she replaced me until last Thursday night. Rain tapped against my window like fingers. I was watching old cartoons, just trying to escape my own thoughts for once. When I heard the knock, I opened the door, and there she was, Dalia, soaked, eyes red, holding a broken coffee cup in her hand. Not mine, not hers. His. She stood in my doorway, drenched in rain, hair clinging to her cheeks, holding the broken coffee mug like it was some kind of peace offering. She didn't say anything at first. She didn't need to. Her eyes told me everything I wasn't ready to hear. Dalia, I said, and my own voice sounded foreign, small, hollow. She blinked fast, as if saying my name hurt more than the rain running down her face. I know I don't belong here, she whispered, but I didn't know where else to go. That's the moment I should have shut the door, walked away, chosen the quiet, empty apartment over reopening a chapter one had forcefully closed. But of course I didn't, 'cause I'm not the kind of guy who walks away. I'm the guy who waits, who breaks silently, who gets left behind and still holds the door open. I stepped aside, and she walked in slowly, like every step closer to me added 20 pounds to her guilt. The moment the door clicked shut behind her, my whole body tensed. She placed the broken mug on my counter carefully, like it was an injured animal, and wiped her face with her sleeve. I'm not here to ask for anything, she started, her voice cracking. I needed to tell you something. You didn't deserve to find out the way you did. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, arms folded, trying to keep my face from crumbling into the 1,000 questions I wanted to scream. She glanced at the broken mug and let out this tiny, sad laugh. He dropped it. I took it from his apartment after I left. I don't even know why. Maybe I thought it would make this feel more real. That name hung unspoken in the air. Ethan, she continued. It wasn't just an affair, Everett. It was something I thought was salvation. I felt like I was disappearing, like I was becoming invisible in my own life. You were always so still, so quiet, so composed, and I was— She paused, biting her lip. Restless. My throat burned. I wanted to scream. So, you decided to disappear behind my back instead of talking to me? But all I managed was a week. And now, she looked up. Now he's engaged to someone else. A month after I moved in with him. I blinked. He said it was temporary, that he just needed time, but he had her the whole time. He was seeing us both. Her voice cracked again. I was a placeholder, just like I made you feel. Silence stretched across the room like a noose tightening. I sat down in the same chair I'd used the night I left her, and the weight of it all came crashing down again. The betrayal, the humiliating realization that while I was trying to protect what we had, she had been trying to escape it. I thought you were my home, I muttered. You were planning an exit. She dropped to the floor, knees tucked under her like a child, tears streaming now, no longer fighting the breakdown. I messed up. You gave me peace, and I ran from it because I didn't know how to sit still with myself. I looked for noise, and now, I can't find silence without missing you. I wanted those words. God, I wanted them months ago, but now they felt like a fire alarm going off after the house already burned down. I stood and walked to the kitchen window, the rain tracing slow rivers down the glass. So why now, Dalia? Why come here? She hesitated, then said the last thing I expected. Because he told me something about you, something you don't know yet. I turned. She was trembling again. He knew about the letter, she said. The one you got in your mailbox. The one that told you to go to that garage. I froze. My blood ran cold. How? I asked. My voice dropped lower than I meant. She swallowed. Because he didn't send it. And suddenly, everything inside me twisted. If Ethan didn't send the note, who the hell did? I just stood there, completely still. My brain refused to process what she'd said, like someone had fed it a line of corrupted code. He didn't send it? I asked, slower this time, trying to catch the meaning as it slipped between my thoughts. Then who the hell did? Dalia looked wrecked. Her makeup had long dissolved, and her hands wouldn't stop fidgeting with the hem of her coat. I don't know, she whispered. But someone wanted you to find out. She reached into her bag. There's more. She pulled out another envelope, a smaller one, torn slightly at the edge, like it had been opened and resealed in a hurry. She held it out to me like it was radioactive. It was in my car 2 nights ago, she said. On the passenger seat. No fingerprints. No prints at all, actually. I panicked and took it straight to him, thinking he was messing with me. But when he read it, he looked terrified. That caught my attention. I took the envelope from her hand. It was nearly identical to the one I'd gotten months ago. No stamp, just her name on the front this time, in the same type of blocky handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper, same as before. It read, "He was never supposed to find out. You chose the wrong person to lie to. Don't answer your door next time. This is your warning." My heart dropped. All the air in the room felt sucked out through the walls. I took a shaky step back and stared at Dalia. Did you tell anyone about the first letter? I asked. Anyone at all? She shook her head violently. Only Ethan. And he freaked out, started checking his phone, locked the doors, said something about needing to call someone, and told me to get out. So he's scared of whoever sent this. I think so, but I think he knows more than he said. I couldn't sit down, couldn't stand still either. I paced the room, a mix of dread and nausea churning in my stomach. All this time, I thought I was just another idiot in a failed marriage, a forgettable victim of someone else's affair. But someone wanted me to know. And now they were warning her, too. That's when something occurred to me. Something that should have clicked before but didn't. The second mug, the one I found on my desk. It had lipstick on the rim. And Dalia doesn't wear lipstick. She never has. It smudges too easily, she always said. So if it wasn't hers and it wasn't mine, then who the hell had been in my apartment? Wait, I said, spinning around. Did you come here before today? I mean, recently? She shook her head again. I didn't even know where you lived until tonight. I had to ask your old coworker, Marcus, for the address. Then someone's been inside. Her eyes widened. What are you saying? I walked to the kitchen, pulled out the drawer with the spare keys. Still there, untouched. Nothing was stolen, nothing broken but that cup. And now the letter in your car. Dalia started to cry again, but this time it wasn't guilt. It was fear. I don't understand, she said. Who would do this? Who even cares what happened between us? That was the question. The big one. The one wrapping around my throat tighter with every beat of silence. Because I thought I'd walked away clean. Chosen peace. Left the pain behind. But peace isn't real when someone else is pulling strings in the dark. I looked back at Dalia, her hands shaking. Her eyes locked on me like I was the only thing tethering her to reality. That's when she said it. 3 words I'll never forget. I think someone's watching you. And just as the words hit me, my phone buzzed on the table. Blocked number. 1 new voicemail. I didn't recognize the voice when I pressed play, but what it said made my blood go cold. You're welcome for the truth, but don't think you're safe now. You never were. I didn't sleep that night. Not even close. Dalia passed out on my couch sometime around 2 a.m., still wrapped in the same rain-drenched coat she arrived in. Her fingers clutched that broken coffee mug like it held answers she wasn't ready to let go of. I sat across the room with every light on, watching the shadows like they might come alive. I replayed the voicemail at least a dozen times. The voice was distorted, definitely masked, but there was something eerie in the way it said, "You never were safe. Not, you're not safe now, but never were." Who says that? Who drops the truth like they've been watching your life unravel from a distance? Around 4:30 a.m., I heard movement in the hallway outside my apartment. Not footsteps, more like a pause. Someone standing still just beyond the door. My breath caught in my throat. I crept up, heart pounding against my ribs like it was trying to break out. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. No one. But the elevator down the hall had just closed. I watched the numbers light up in descending order. 10, 9, 8. Whoever it was didn't knock. Didn't leave a note this time. Just stood there long enough to be noticed. Long enough to make sure I heard them. I barely moved all morning. When the sun came up, Dalia stirred on the couch, groggy and pale. She looked at me like she expected me to tell her it was all a bad dream, like we were teenagers who drank too much and woke up on the wrong couch. But I didn't speak. I just handed her a cup of tea and said, "You can't go back to your place." She nodded. Then I told her I had to see Ethan. I wasn't going to let her come with me. That wasn't out of concern. It was strategy. If he still had anything to hide, he'd only show it if he thought I was coming alone. She gave me his address. I didn't ask how she got it. I took my old Civic and drove halfway across the city in silence. The whole time, I couldn't shake the image of the person outside my apartment, or the voice on the voicemail, or the possibility that all of this was bigger than some marital disaster. When I reached Ethan's building, it was nicer than I expected. One of those glass and steel structures where everyone inside looks like they've never eaten leftovers in their life. I walked into the lobby, heart pounding. The receptionist didn't even blink when I said his name, just buzzed me up like I was expected. When I got in the elevator, there was someone else inside. A tall man, clean-shaven, gray coat, holding a bouquet of yellow tulips. He looked at me, just a quick glance, but then he smiled. Not politely, not awkwardly. No, this was something else. The kind of smile that says, "I know exactly who you are, and I've been waiting for this." And then he said it, "Fourth floor, right?" My stomach twisted. I hadn't said a word, hadn't pressed a button yet. He didn't look surprised by my silence, just smiled again and turned to face the doors. I said nothing. When we reached the fourth floor, he stepped out first and turned left. Ethan's unit was to the right. Still, I waited until he disappeared from view before moving. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. After the third try, I tried the door. It opened, unlocked. The moment I stepped in, I knew something was wrong. The place wasn't just empty. It was erased. Drawers pulled out, papers torn, a smashed picture frame on the floor. No signs of a struggle, just absence. Like someone wanted everything gone fast. Then I saw the laptop still open, still on. And on the screen was a folder labeled, "Do not open unless something happens." Of course, I opened it. Inside were 3 files. 1 PDF, 1 video, and 1 audio clip labeled simply "Forever." I stared at that screen, my hand shaking as I moved the cursor. I didn't press play. Not yet. Because in that moment, something in me whispered what I didn't want to admit. Ethan didn't just cheat with my wife. He was part of something much darker. And whatever was on that file was going to ruin everything I thought I knew. I stood in Ethan's empty apartment with the laptop in front of me, frozen. Everything inside me screamed not to open the files, like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into something I couldn't unsee. But then again, that's all my life had become lately. Layers of truth I didn't ask for, unraveling faster than I could catch them. I clicked on the video first. It wasn't long, a little over 2 minutes. The camera faced Ethan directly. He was sitting at a desk, same clothes I remembered from the last photo Dalia had of him. His eyes were bloodshot, like he hadn't slept in days. There was a shaking glass of water next to him, barely touched. He leaned in and looked straight into the camera. "If you're watching this," he said, "then something happened. I don't know what. I don't know who reached you. I just know I wasn't supposed to play along." He looked over his shoulder. There was no one behind him, just a plain white wall. Then he leaned closer. "Everett," he said my name like he knew it would be me. "Look, man, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't even know she was married at first. They chose her, not me. I was just part of the leverage." What the hell was he talking about? He rubbed his eyes. "They watched you for months. Someone said you were predictable. You lived like a metronome. Quiet job, routine schedule, same grocery list every week." He looked scared. "But someone else said that made you the ideal test case." Then he stood up and walked off screen, but he kept talking like someone else was in the room. "You don't have to keep doing this," he said. "He's not going to retaliate. He just disappears. That's his thing. He shuts down. You already got what you needed from her." A pause. No one responded, but Ethan clearly thought he wasn't alone. Then he came back into frame. "Tell whoever's left that I'm out. I'm done. I'm not dying for this." The screen went black. I stared at the laptop like it had just blinked at me. What did he mean? A test case? Who was watching me? What was he part of? I closed the video and opened the PDF next. It was a scanned report. No official headers, no names, just lines and lines of what looked like journal entries, but not mine. About me. Subject maintains routine despite marital tension. Emotional reactions minimal. Exhibits passive response patterns. Behavior profile consistent with case study 43A. Subject's partner has been approached. She has demonstrated full behavioral drift. Emotional detachment increasing. Suggest phase 2. Letter delivery initiated. Subject followed lead immediately. Phase 3 successful. Subject displays targeted emotional collapse. What the hell was this? Someone had been tracking my emotional reactions like I was a lab rat, watching my life fall apart and writing it down like it was a research paper. They planned it. Every step, the mug, the letter, the garage. I opened the third file. The audio file labeled "Forever." I hesitated. My hand hovered over the trackpad, and then I pressed play. There was silence at first, then breathing, slow, purposeful, like someone wanted me to know they were real. And then a woman's voice, calm, neutral. You were chosen because you are quiet, because you comply, because you don't fight back. We needed to measure the emotional rupture of betrayal in a controlled environment. Your relationship was ideal. I gripped the edge of the desk so hard my knuckles cracked. Dalia never knew the full extent. She believed it was just temptation. Her emotional drift was natural, though accelerated by subtle manipulation. Her coworkers were briefed. Certain conversations were planted. Exposure increased. Desire replaced stability. She was never the subject. You were. Then silence again. And one final line, spoken softer than the rest. You don't need to understand. You just need to endure. The audio ended. I sat there, breathless, knees weak. The hum of the refrigerator suddenly sounded like an engine screaming through the walls. I wasn't just betrayed. I was manipulated, designed, observed. And if that voice was right, then Dalia hadn't just cheated. She'd been guided into it. She was part of an experiment, and I was the variable. I stumbled out of the apartment, nearly dropping the laptop. As I stepped into the hallway, the man in the gray coat, the one with the tulips, was there again. No flowers this time, just a camera slung over his shoulder. And as he passed me, he whispered, "You weren't supposed to stay the same." I didn't go home. Couldn't. After what I heard, after what that voice said, my apartment didn't feel like a shelter anymore. It felt like a trap, like the walls had ears and the air had eyes. I ended up at a rundown motel off Highway 92, the kind of place with buzzing lights, paper-thin walls, and a vending machine that ate your dollar without apology. I locked the door, pulled the curtains, and placed the laptop on the table like it was a bomb waiting to detonate. That voice in the recording, it was so calm, so clinical. Not angry, not even cruel, just detached, like I wasn't a human being but a number in a long list of outcomes. Dalia, Ethan, me, pieces on a board. My mind kept looping back to one detail I couldn't shake. Dalia believed it was just temptation. Her emotional drift was natural, accelerated by subtle manipulation. What the hell does that mean? Did someone create the conditions for her to cheat? Did they choose Ethan for her? How many of her decisions were even hers? How many of mine were mine? I needed answers. I needed proof. And I remembered something small. Weeks before Dalia ever left, I started getting mild headaches. Nothing sharp, just pressure, like something buzzing inside my brain. I thought it was stress. But now I wasn't so sure. I pulled out my phone and checked my gallery. The photo I'd taken of the broken coffee mug, still there. The napkin from Lorenzo's, still there. But right between them, two black images, blank files I'd never seen before. The timestamp said they were taken at 3:12 a.m., 3 nights ago, while I was asleep. I opened them. Nothing, just black. But the metadata said, front camera. Someone or something had taken photos using my phone in the middle of the night, facing me. And that's when I remembered the drawer, the one in my desk back home. The one I always kept locked because it held tax documents, old photos, things I didn't want touched. But I hadn't checked it since the day I left Dalia. I had to go back. I waited until after dark, took the long way, checking every mirror, every shadow, every set of headlights that followed too long. Paranoia was starting to blend with something worse. Logic. Because if what I suspected was true, then I wasn't being paranoid. I was being studied. I unlocked the apartment door like it was the first time. Every floorboard creak sounded wrong. The air was too still, like it had been told not to move. I walked straight to the drawer. The lock hadn't been broken. Still closed. Still stiff. But when I opened it, I froze. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper. My handwriting on the outside. It read, "In case you forget." I felt cold all over. I opened the paper slowly, like it might bleed if I pulled too hard. The writing inside was mine, but I didn't remember writing it. Not even a little. It was clean, even as if written calmly, methodically. It said, "You won't believe them. Not at first. That's part of the profile. You always assume the best in people even when they break you. They'll make you doubt yourself before they ever touch you. You think you're spiraling, but this is the start, not the end. They tested memory drift last year. You passed without knowing. Your gaps aren't stress. They're curated. If you're reading this, they're not done. Don't run. Don't confront. Just watch. You'll know what to do when the rain returns. I dropped the letter. My ears were ringing. My own handwriting telling me I'd been memory altered, manipulated, tested before, tested again. And somewhere, someone was watching my reaction right now. I slowly turned and scanned the apartment, eyes catching every outlet, vent, screw, frame. I walked into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize my own face. And then I heard it. Rain. Tapping softly against the windows, just like the letter said. You'll know what to do when the rain returns. But I didn't know what that meant until I checked the peephole and saw Dalia again. Only this time she wasn't crying. She was holding a tablet, and behind her stood the man in the gray coat, smiling. I didn't open the door. Not this time. I just watched through the peephole as Dalia stood there in the rain, hair slicked against her cheeks, holding that tablet with both hands like it weighed more than it should. The man in the gray coat stood directly behind her, calm, composed, wearing the same unnerving half-smile I'd seen in the elevator. He didn't knock. He didn't speak. He just waited. I backed away slowly. Every instinct told me to run. But where? Every place I'd gone, every step I thought I'd taken on my own had already been anticipated. There was nowhere left that wasn't under someone's thumb. I watched them from between the blinds. She tapped on the screen. The tablet lit up. She turned it toward the peephole. They weren't knocking to get in. They were showing me something. The tablet screen flickered, then played a video. It was me, sitting at a table, wearing the same hoodie I packed when I left Dalia. Same watch, same scar on my left hand from fixing the sink last fall. I was speaking, but I had no memory of ever recording that. No camera, no script, no recollection. Still, there I was, clear as day. My name is Everett Carlson. I'm participating voluntarily in Phase 4 of the Drift Response Study. I understand that my emotional patterns, memory sequences, and behavior under betrayal simulation will be documented for analytical purposes. I consent to manipulation, alteration, and induced stimuli for research. I froze. The voice was mine. The mannerisms, the pauses, even the way I scratched my chin. It was all me. But I'd never said those words. I watched myself smile in the video. I agree not to seek compensation. I understand this process is irreversible. After stage 3, Dalia lowered the tablet and looked directly into the peephole. She couldn't see me, but she didn't have to. Her lips moved, and I read the words, clear as day. You chose this. My knees buckled slightly. I braced myself on the wall. Did I? Was this some twisted experiment I signed up for and forgot? Was my memory scrubbed, just like the letter said? I stumbled back from the door and went to the mirror again. Stared at myself long and hard. Looked into my own eyes and asked a question I never thought I'd ask seriously. What if none of this is real? Not in the sci-fi movie sense. I'm not in a dream. I'm awake. I feel the fear. I remember the pain. But maybe the memories, the sequence of them, have been rearranged like a puzzle with the same pieces in the wrong order. What if my grief, my collapse, my silence were all intended outcomes? What if they let her cheat so I'd break in a specific way? What if I was never supposed to recover? I paced the room like a rat in a burning maze. Every drawer felt suspicious. Every socket, every light bulb, every wire in the wall a potential lie. And then it hit me. The handwriting. The note I found in the drawer. What if that wasn't a warning? What if it was planted? What if I was meant to find it? I rushed back, tore open the drawer again, grabbed the note, held it under the kitchen light. Something caught my eye in the corner, barely visible, almost missed it. A small mark, written vertically in faded ink. DS Group 7. Subject: Ember. Ember. That wasn't my name unless it was a code or a label. I dropped the note like it burned me. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Then again. Once, twice, 3 times. My phone buzzed. No caller ID again. I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because as the screen dimmed, a single message appeared without sound. No notification, Just text over black, like it bypassed the phone entirely. Subject Ember. Final sequence approved. Open the door. And with that, the power cut out. Total silence. No fridge hum. No street noise. No light. Just rain. Just breath. Just the memory of myself saying things I never said. I turned toward the door one last time, and this time they knocked. 3 sharp knocks, then a pause, then another knock. Soft, deliberate like punctuation. And a voice, Dahlia's voice, but it wasn't pleading anymore. She said, "They're going to show you everything now." I don't know what I expected when I opened that door. Screaming? An ambush. Some surreal ending where the floor would fall out and I'd wake up in a padded room. What I didn't expect was silence. Dahlia stood there, rain dripping from her coat, eyes not pleading anymore, just tired. Behind her, the man in the gray coat held a black tablet close to his chest like it was sacred. He nodded at me. "You're ready." I didn't invite them in. I didn't speak. I simply stepped aside and let whatever this was finish itself. Dahlia handed me the tablet without a word. The man followed her in but stood near the doorway as if he wouldn't take a single step further without permission. That was new. The tablet buzzed, and a familiar interface loaded, clean, corporate, cold. The kind of UI you'd expect from a tech firm or a government contractor. There were labeled files, folders, a timeline, a file marked consent footage, another marked deviation logs, and at the very end, control release subject Ember. That name again. Ember. I sat down, hands trembling slightly, and clicked the last file. And what I saw wasn't horror. It was freedom. A full breakdown of the study. Names redacted, sponsors unnamed, but the methodology was clear. They recruited people who were emotionally consistent, mentally stable, and highly introspective. People who felt deeply but rarely reacted. They simulated betrayal, chaos, and abandonment, not to harm, but to observe how the human mind could reshape identity after total emotional collapse. And then, after all that, they gave each subject a choice. A literal one. Dahlia, looking at me from across the room, whispered, "I remembered a week ago. Everything. I chose to come back." I looked at her. Why? Because the moment they let me remember who I was before all of it, I realized who I never should have stopped loving. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't break down. She'd done that already. They offered me an exit, a reset. I asked for you instead. The man in the coat finally spoke. You've passed every threshold. You maintained empathy in isolation. You didn't retaliate when provoked. And more importantly, you questioned without destruction. You're free. That word sounded fake at first. Free? What does that even mean after all this? He placed a slim card on my table. You'll never hear from us again. This number will deactivate within 24 hours. Everything on that device is yours now. No more games, no more oversight. It's over. And just like that, he left. Dahlia sat across from me in silence. No promises, no begging. Just 2 people sitting in the wreckage of something neither of them fully built or broke. I didn't say anything for a long time, but eventually, I smiled. A real one. Small, quiet, but real. Because somewhere in the chaos, I realized the most important thing. They tried to unravel me, and I stayed whole. I wasn't just part of someone's experiment. I was the one who survived it. 2 weeks later, I moved. New place, no labels, no cameras. Dahlia and I talk. Not like before. Something quieter, wiser. Maybe it'll rebuild, maybe it won't. But this time, it's not about possession. It's about recognition. I walk more now. I journal. I make coffee in mismatched mugs just to remind myself that nothing has to match perfectly to feel right. And every time it rains, I smile. Because it reminds me of the night I didn't break. It reminds me that I chose peace, not because I was weak, but because I was finally strong enough to let the storm pass through me without becoming part of it. I chose myself, and for once that was enough.